Aloha, I'm Felicia Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, I'm Felicia Johnson, and I encourage individuals to live smart and ascend to new levels of work life success. So today I have the pleasure of connecting with Neelu for the first time. So let's bring her to the screen. Aloha!
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am good. Nice to finally connect. It's been a long time coming.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your patience. As some of you may not be as familiar with, there is somewhat of a wait to be a guest on the show. But as I say, it is divine timing when we are supposed to connect and have our conversation. That is for sure. And so, with this, you are actually my first guest for the first year for 2024.
Oh,
So,
amazing.
yeah. So, with that, you and I have never met before. And with this being a new year, tell me something new that Neelu wants to do in 2024.
Yeah. So 2023 was all about my book, Be Your Own Cheerleader. Or, no, sorry, that way.
Yes.
So I was doing a lot of speaking engagements, book tours, workshops around Be Your Own Cheerleader. And so this year, something new for me is expanding to bigger stages. So more conferences and speaking on larger platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be your own cheerleader. So you released it in 2023?
Yes, today is marks 1 year, so today is the birthday of my book.
Jill, of course it is.
Yes,
Divine
exactly.
timing.
Exactly right. So today is a 1 year anniversary, and yes, published date was last year, January 23rd, 23. So it's been a year.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Awesome. So now that you got it a year, and like I said,
Mhm.
so now you're wanting to do other stages. So take me back a year ago then when you were releasing your book. Like, what was that like?
I mean, I was still doing a lot of the same things. So my work is at the intersection of leadership and wellness. And so for the past handful of years, it's really been about self-advocacy. And so a lot of my workshops are empowering people to be their own cheerleader at work. So not just underrepresented voices, but introverts, neurodivergent folks, anyone that struggles with self-advocacy,
Hmm.
talking about themselves in a way that's productive and gets them the results that they want, which is sometimes challenging based on the cultures that we come from.
Okay, yes, indeed. So the first card that already came out here is about transformation. So definitely some of the things that you're kind of talking about. So it says a significant life experience that requires changes to be made, powerful and often unexpected revelations, breaking free of procrastination, releasing old belief systems. So when you talk about being your own cheerleader, what does that phrase really mean?
Mm. Yes. So it's something that I struggled with. And I think it's the reason that throughout my corporate life, I was the first to be let go. I got fired many times. I think it was because I was the one with the ideas and head down, do my work, but I didn't know how to self advocate. I didn't know how to I would get interrupted mid-sentence and someone would take my idea and I didn't know how to gracefully come back into the conversation. So for me, it's been my own personal journey. And now, after doing this for almost a decade, or actually more than a decade, I have helped so many people learn to be their own cheerleaders at work.
Wow, let's go back because that you said something there because I know a lot of people have experienced that to where, as we say, just being disregarded. Tell me a little bit more about that. Like I said, when you're first to let go or being cut off in the middle of your sentence. What's another people like? So we put the hands up, like, excuse me, like,
Yes.
mm-mm.
And maybe not as overt as that in the corporate space, but yet I would get interrupted. I think women get interrupted a lot more than men. I mean, there's research about this, right? And then if you're a woman of
Hmm.
color, it's even more so. And there's research about this. So I often found myself in situations. So 2013 was my last downsizing, and I worked at a large company where I was training the technologists. So I was training them on emotional intelligence and some skills that they needed to go from an individual contributor to a manager. So it's like, how do we make that transition from being like a subject matter expert to then managing people? And so when I was let go of that job, I realized that when I looked around, so I was escorted back to my desk, and they were like, you have 10 minutes, or sorry, 5 minutes to grab all of your belongings. And whatever you don't grab, we will mail it back to you. And I remember
Wow.
looking back at everyone who was still in their chair, and I thought, gosh, they must have gotten a memo that I didn't get. A lot of them were the people that were the loudest voice in the room, or they were constantly bringing attention to their work. And so for me, I just was always told, like, do good work, your work will speak for itself. And that's definitely not the case in corporate America.
Well, for sure, because the next card that came up here is talking about the theme of ease, and it literally says, I have to make this work. That's the trigger statement. True statement is, I am at ease with life. It says you need to ease your grip on life so that it can lead the way. There is an outcome brighter than you can imagine. So it's interesting. 2013, 10 years later, here you
Yes.
are publishing like your book, that transformation journey. So what did you do in that 10-year gap?
Well, I started my own practice. So I said I will
Hmm.
figure it out. And I work, I'm a solopreneur. So I work with organizations, I coach individuals. And so I started that journey in 2013, and it was not a linear journey. So I was constantly doing different things, like partnering with different organizations and then building my own portfolio of clients. So it's kind of juggling the two things, but that's what's been going on for 10 years.
Hmm. So being escorted out from a job that you probably thought like, hey, this is, something that I want to do that maybe I was enjoying doing, to like all of a sudden like you're blindsided, which goes back to this whole transformation, which going here, which he's holding this whole hourglass
Hmm.
symbol. And so then 10 years later, you have your own book. Did you even have inspirations of writing your own book in 2013?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl. So I always wanted to be a published author. I just didn't know. I started books, I started topics, I started writing many, many times, but
Hmm.
nothing really stuck. But this was a topic that I was like, this is a lived experience, not just for me, but for so many people that I have coached and so many people that have been in my trainings. I know it's something that they struggle with. So I knew it would be well received.
Hmm. One of the things I learned is often the times the things that we write about are definitely something of the experience that we have gone through. Like you said, you had an inkling. There's a book, but I may not have necessarily known what the topic was. But then it was like, I've been through all this. I can definitely write something about this. It provided concept here of the theme is clarity. Trigger statement. I'm so confused.
I
True
say that a
statement.
lot. I say that a lot in general. So
Yes. The true statement says, I am present. It says, allow your mind to clear and let the noise of your thoughts fall away. Listen to your intuition. So you have listened quite a bit.
mhm.
Tell me a little bit more about that voice that tells you that you're confused.
Yes. So actually, there's a section on my book on this topic. It's like, how
Mm.
are we motivated? Are we motivated internally or externally? So, what that really means is, like, some people just know within themselves that they're on the right path. They know what they're doing. They can go to the store, try on jeans, and say, gosh, these look really good on me. And they're like, I'm going to buy them. And then there's other
Mhm.
people that need research and data and external validation. And I'm one of those people that is very much like, I won't buy anything till I get someone's opinion. It's like, does this look okay? When I'm teaching and facilitating workshops, I wait to get the result. Even if I felt it went really well, I'll wait to get the results from feedback surveys. when I'm on stage and I come back, it's like, are people clapping? So it's like, I know I'm one of those people that needs a lot of external validation. And so oftentimes I say I'm confused and I'm like, wait a second, are you really confused? Or is it just that you didn't get enough pieces of data, enough points of reference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so Neelu, let's go back to that. So where did that start from you? Where did you, as a youth, high school, college, where you felt like that started, that you needed that external validation?
I think it started very young. I mean, I really believe it has a lot to do with my cultural upbringing, which is, it's about the group. Like I'm Indian. I grew up, I was born in India and raised in the US, and I was raised by immigrants. And so it was all about group harmony. And so in a group and group harmony, the individual self is not really um, promoted. It's not something that it's not something that your parents really want you to have something that flourishes, right? Like it's all about the group and maintaining sort of composure in the group. And so I think I really don't know an age where that started, but I can definitely say it was very, very young, where I felt like I needed a lot of different sources of or points of confirmation.
Mm-hmm. So the next card that came out here is this picture of this person sitting by themselves. But the word that here is grief, but it's more about the picture. It's like you said, can you be comfortable alone? Do you need someone else to swing beside you to say, hey, or to compare to? If they're going high, you gotta go higher. If they're gonna jump, you have to jump off. Like all of these different things. Because the next thing that came up here was the word was investment, but it's more about the picture. It's like all these different faces and expressions, but everybody is in the same little basket together. Um, so the questions is coming through. What do you feel confident about doing that you realize like you really don't need anyone's validation?
Like what activity? Is that what you're asking me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think when I'm in my like creative zone and I am creating workshops or creating speeches, like I know that I have the right message, and I have to be in that creative zone where I'm not questioning things. If I'm not in that creative zone and I'm still trying to do those tasks, it's like, okay, am I doing this right? Do I need to go
Mm-hmm.
ask this person? Right. So I think when I'm tuned in, turned on, tapped into my inner voice and inner self, that's when I know like I really have the answers. I know what I need to know, and I don't need that from anyone else.
So how do you get into that creative zone? What do you do?
I notice it has a lot to do with time. So for example, I'm not a morning person. So in the evening is when like I can shut down when I live in a building with a lot of other apartments, right? So it's really loud during the day, and at night it's like everything just sort of like calms. There's not a lot of noise outside my windows, and so that's when I feel like okay, it's complete silence. I can just do what I need to do. So I find myself having more of those moments in the evening, like late evenings actually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so late evening. So it's interesting. Like I said, we went back here to write the whole hourglass and the time. And the word at the top says ease, clarity. What's the next project you have coming up?
So this year, I'm really focused on creating some keynote speeches to go on these bigger stages for conferences, for women's conferences, for tech conferences. So my projects for this year is to create a couple of like outstanding keynotes.
Mm-hmm.
So my creative juices are all going towards writing those keynotes.
Are you writing at night?
So I'm in a program, and it's like a cohort experience, and so a lot of the homework I do at night.
Hmm. Tell me about the one that you're excited about the most.
So I mean, they're all about be your own cheerleader, but I think the part that excites me the most is like anyone that struggles with self advocacy, this message is for you. So it doesn't have to just be because you come from an Asian culture or a collective culture or a Latin culture or an African culture, which are all very group focused. But if you are anyone like an extreme introvert, if you're neurodivergent and you struggle with self advocacy, like I have some messages for you, I have some tools for you that you can start practicing. And so I think that really helps me feel like I'm helping a lot of people. And I'm very excited about that.
Yes. So you said a lot of different things for the like I said, an Asian, African American, neurodivergent. The thing that's coming through as you're planning your next project, I want you to close your eyes and describe that person in the audience that
Hmm.
you're presenting this information, that one that you want to reach.
Yeah, I have a very clear picture of her because
Tell me.
I actually have a picture of her, like a physical picture of her, because it was at a book signing event. And
Yes?
this younger Asian woman, and the look of joy on her face as I was signing the book, it just, we both really bonded in that moment. And so when I see her, I feel like even when I was writing my book
Yes.
years before it was published, it's like she was my ideal person to speak to.
Hmm. Do you still think about her while you're doing your workshops?
I have not thought about her since then.
Continue.
Yes.
Because like I said, you have your book. It looks like because sometimes we can. What do they say? You have a book and material that can reach a array of
Yes.
individuals, right? And so you're like, okay, I want to speak to everyone. But like I said, you had that moment when she was
Hmm.
smiling and that connection. So continue to be at ease because as these times can become challenging and
Hmm.
frustration, it's like, who is that person that I can see and can guide to? And it's like, don't forget about her.
Right.
Continue to stay focused on her as you're doing the workshop.
Hmm.
Continue to be in your zone of genius of
Hmm.
when they're doing them in the evening. And which is interestingly enough, because everything is divine timing. Like I said, it's 1 year exactly from your book.
Hmm.
And in this particular show, the history used to be that I used to do this show during the daytime.
Right.
It used to be in the morning, like at 1 or 2 o'clock, and here we are in
Yes,
the
it's
evening.
evening. Yes.
So it's like, I needed to talk to you when you were in your zone of genius. So with that, tell me, what do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? So I love being in nature. So I'm from New York,
Yes.
and so I live close to a few parks. I love trees. So my husband and I love to just take strolls with no agenda. We're just kind of stroll through the parks, and that's something I enjoy doing. I also teach yoga and mindfulness, and so that I do for my community, and I find a lot of joy out of that. So that's something I've been teaching yoga for about 15 years, and it's just something that helps me stay grounded and also be connected to my community.
Well, of course, because the energy that you had here is agreeing with the concept of focused, and the theme was empowered. And the trigger statement says, I don't want to be here. But the true statement says, I'm exactly where I need to be. You're ready to allow the energy from the divine and Mother Earth, which you just said, out
Hmm.
there in
Yeah.
nature, to fuel you as you fulfill your potential here. And so, of course, the swinging sets, which was outside and in nature, is definitely in your energetic energy field. So as like I said, things become challenging, continue to focus on your young lady. That was kind of like the guiding post.
Yeah.
Continue to enjoy the time with your husband as you're going out in nature. And so I was like, okay, so who can come alongside and encourage you as you continue on the journey? And you have Joan of Arc. Have you ever heard of her before?
Yes.
Yes. So here's what it says on the
Hmm.
cards. Stand strong. Focus on your purpose. Release the fear of persecution and speak your truth, which goes back to In those moments when you say, like back in 2013, where you had those individuals that were cutting you off and your speech and all those different things, it's like, don't let that fear creep back in, especially when you're going to go out and present your information about this particular topic. And so be empowered. That's the encouragement that's coming forth from you. And so I'm being encouraged to read this. It says, you're being encouraged to stand strong. You may feel unrecognized and misunderstood, but that doesn't mean you have to give up on the mission you feel called to fulfill. You must follow the will of your soul and exercise your leadership spirit by speaking your truth, which is all the things that you talked about in your experience in your path. You may feel as though if you're on a battlefield, but this conflict will come to an end as soon as you stop defending yourself. You are not here to prove yourself to others, but instead approve of yourself, which goes back to the statement where we say, who do you think you have to be approved by? Like, what do you need
Mm-hmm.
validation from? You don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
You already have it for yourself. So know that your angels are on your side and that the heaven is thanking you for being the honest soul that you are.
I love that.
Awesome. Neelu, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
a
so much.
guest.
This was so fun. I've done this before, just not live. Like I've had someone read cards and all of that, but not live. So this is awesome. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So, for those individuals that want to know more about where they can find your book or get on your like mailing list for when you're going to go out there and speak, how can individuals reach you?
Yes, my website, neelukaur.com. That's neelukaur.com. I'm on LinkedIn. That's my most active platform. I'm on Insta. And then books can be found anywhere Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, wherever you find books, you can find Be Your Own Cheerleader.
Awesome. Well, I do want you to know that Chad was here and he was encouraged by your statement. He said, I had situations where I didn't realize I needed to say more at the time. Thank you,
Yes.
Chad,
Yeah. Thank you, Chad.
for
Yes, we
bringing
all have had those experiences and we need to speak up for ourselves.
indeed, as you wrote the book, be your own cheerleader.
Yes.
If you're interested in being a guest on All Intuitive Conversation, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn and learn more about past guest episodes on my YouTube channel at All Intuitive Conversation. And until we meet again, this has been an All Intuitive Conversation.